Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another pitch for another Nightmare on Elm Street movie because these just keep coming. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the other one. Maybe you did, maybe you didn't. I don't know. Who knows? Give it a watch if you haven't. My Nightmare on Street 666, as I called it, which is just, I was being clever. Or not. Whatever. Still fighting this head cold, so sorry if I sound a little, stuffy, but I actually sound a lot better than yesterday, actually. So it's getting there, fighting the good fight. But yeah, so continuing with the pitches here. This one will be tricky though, because this is a movie trying to follow Freddy's Dead, which was supposed to kill Freddy off. So it's gonna be kind of like, well, how do we do that? Because we just killed him off. Now, obviously, with New Nightmare, what they did was completely change the story, made it in the real world and all that stuff. And Freddy versus Jason, of course, had him face out with Jason. So I can't go with either of those ideas because, well, those were done. And we have to go with something that's not completely, I'm trying to go as original as we possibly can while continuing the story. Now, with this timeline, as we're going with, this means by this time we've had 6 Nightmare on Elm Street films. So obviously no New Nightmare, no Freddy vs. Jason, no remake. So we've had 6 films, Freddy's dead. The survivors that are still living are Yaphet Kotto's character Doc. And then you had his daughter, Catherine Kruger, I think was her name. Her name was Maggie, as her new name, her adopted name. And then there was Tracy, who survived as well, kind of a badass, tough girl. So they all survived Freddy's Dead. Now, even though they didn't really go into it, and the John Doe was supposed to be the last teenager surviving from Elm Street and all that. So technically, that would probably mean that, Jacob was dead too. But they never officially say that. Therefore, I say he could still be alive. Also, that means Alice could technically still be alive too. So I think that's going to be our best bet, even though obviously with our, what I did with the other pitch was that, we kind of ended that kind of, those characters, trilogy and all that. So I think we kind of tie those characters together somewhat. Now, unfortunately, we can't use Nancy. Nancy's gone. We can't use Kirsten and all that stuff. They're all gone. I mean, technically, I guess you could go back to the second one, but yeah, I think we've kind of exhausted. We already did stuff with those characters, so we have to do something with these characters. So how do we go though? We're not going to go real world because that's a New Nightmare, and we can't go bring in Jason or nothing like that. So we got to go a different route because Freddy's got to somehow live again, and we already had a couple of scenarios with him coming back and stuff like that. So okay, so how do we start this pitch off? Okay, well, that's a good question. So, after Freddy's dead, obviously the dream demons kind of died too. They were left without any kind of, I guess I know they really died, but they were just kind of left floating about like, little weird demon things that they were. If I can remember, I know he exploded. He's like, oh, a weird 3D thing that they did because they had it in 3D. So, with the demons, I would say let's make it so much about building up towards Freddy coming back. But Freddy's dead. So I would tie it in more of like, let's focus the movie on like these dream demons maybe trying to recruit a new dream demon master or nightmare master. So they're trying to find somebody else evil. So not going the route of, whatever everyone didn't like about Halloween Ends or Friday the 13th Part 5. So not necessarily replacing Freddy, but kind of keeping that, because like I said, we're following Freddy's dead. He's dead, the connection and all that. So we're following what was left of Freddy's dead. So that is the challenge, of course. I would focus on like the dream world and these dream demons trying to find a new suitor, someone who's evil enough to want that power of controlling people's dreams and nightmares. So that's what I would focus on there. I would have less of a, if we could get Yapakato back, that'd be great. But his character doesn't feel like as vital to the Freddy world. Plus, the thing with Freddy too is like it's tougher because he kind of focused a lot on teenagers, or little kids or teenagers were kind of his focal point. So it was very rare that he had dealt with an adult. I mean, he had dealt with more of an adult Nancy, but there was at least already a connection there. So, I don't know. Freddy didn't really get into it with, Lieutenant Thompson all that much. John Saxon's character until the third one a little bit with his skull and stuff. But so I don't know. I would kind of like him focusing more on the kids and the teenagers. So I would say we find another character that's just kind of. So yeah, maybe Doc pops up at some point, and maybe a small role. It's probably all we could get Yapakato for. He was still doing Homicide at the time, I think, or maybe Homicide hadn't started yet. I can't remember exactly. But anyway, we bring Tracy back because I think she was a decent, strong-willed character, and we'll still have his daughter and all that stuff. Basically, just trying to be like, she refuses to go by Krueger though. She's like, no, I don't want any connection to that psycho. I don't want any connection with this madman. I am Maggie Burroughs, and that is who I am. So I don't want to hear anything about this Krueger stuff. And yeah, I would say Jacob has grown up a bit too, and Alice is doing fine and all that stuff. Maybe she's even remarried and stuff like that. So they would have some connection in the movie and all that. Like, I feel like it's going to be kind of one of those things where these characters kind of come together through circumstance. And I would say that maybe we start with, we focus on another character who's, the new evil, so to speak. And definitely kind of an outcast thing without going the Halloween Ends route of, here's this brand new character and this is how it's going to be. Because in a sense, you could kind of treat this a little bit because like I said, we're going off of Freddy's Dead, which was supposed to be the final nightmare. Freddy's done. We're not doing anything else with Freddy beyond, in this mindset, we got to get him with Jason. But that's not what we're doing here. Just because, they did that eventually, and that's just what they did. But that's like I said. I like to make these things that pitch a challenge as opposed to just being like, oh, I'll just do that. So that's why I'm going with that instead of just being like, oh, I'll just do this because that's what they did. Or because somebody else wrote the script and this is my idea, and so that's why I try to make the challenge. I'm just going to keep playing with this thing. Anyway, throw that on the ground. That's what I think about that. Throwing it on the ground. So I don't even have a name for the character that would use this, and this guy's really just going to be a foil because Freddy won't be obviously coming back. But I think we have to kind of sort of go a soft sort of a reboot while still being a continuation. If I can speak properly there. Because, like I said, the whole set of this concept is that, hey, Freddy Krueger no longer is in charge of the dream world. We still have these dream demons who weren't killed. Because, technically they weren't killed. They were just kind of floating about. It wasn't like they were like the rest of them were like, oh, let's kill those weird demons floating about. I don't even know if they actually saw the demons. They're just like, yeah, they're there. But like I said, the movie was very goofy. So very cartoony and goofy. So you had to kind of take it with a grain of salt. But we're working with what we got. So I would say the dream demons are slowly trying to get inside the minds of some of these other creepy, killers or something like that. And so they kind of find somebody else who's like Freddy Krueger, who's like, kidnapping children or something like that. We don't have to go the child molester route just because, I said, I know what they're going. I understand that definitely is very creepy. But I think more like the child kidnapping is creepy enough without having to go into because child molesting is really gross, and that's just, we're trying to build a horror franchise. It's not something you really want to go into and hey guys, and yes, they're supposed to be evil and all that stuff, but I don't know. Just me personally, my comfortability level with that is just kind of it's weird because at the same time Freddy Krueger is supposed to be a child murderer, so that's pretty fucking awful too. If you're murdering kids, that's fucking awful. I think both are kind of awful, but I don't know. For some reason, him being a murderer to me feels like a better franchise-y type of thing for because he's supposed to be a killer, right? Not I'm a creepy guy who likes to touch kids. You know, it's like there's just something about that that's yeah. I don't think you can really sell a horror franchise on creepy guy who touches kids. You know, Jeepers Creepers, I guess. But anyway, enough of that nonsense. So back to point. So yeah, I would say this is another guy who's kidnapping kids, and maybe the kids are ending up dead and all that. And he's got some kind of weird background. So I would say like the Dream Demons are trying to like approach him because, you know, maybe he's arrested. He doesn't have, we don't have to go through the whole thing. He doesn't have to be burned by the town folk and get off on some charge or something like that. But they're kind of recruit somebody. They're constantly looking for somebody else who is similar to Freddy and that can have that power and say, this is the power we can give you. You can kill these kids and, you know, get your revenge on these people who hurt you and things like that. So ultimately, I would say like the first half of the movie could just be kind of building up this like new evil. And, you know, our main characters, you know, Tracy and all that, still a connection with Maggie and all that. We'll see a little bit of Alice and Jacob and all that. And so they start to see that there's some guy who's kidnapping kids and stuff like that. And so they start to look into it and like, oh God, what if we got another Freddy Krueger built in here? You know, we got to make sure this guy definitely goes down. We got to find this creep or whatever. And it's taken a while for anyone to find this guy. It's just, so it is kind of a little bit of a mystery too. So it's not a total nightmare film, I guess, at the start at least. Because it's like I said, we're trying to rebuild something here. It's sort of like I said, it's sort of a rebooty thing. Just because, you know, we finally did this final movie and now we're trying to, you know, you're in sort of a tough situation. So anyway, I would say maybe even that maybe this creep actually finds the glove. So he's like, maybe there's some kind of evidence locker or whatever the case. Somehow about it, he's a creep. And he can get, you know, people get online and get weird artifacts and shit. So if somehow he finds the Krueger glove or whatever, maybe he starts using it to kill the kids or whatever. So as you can see, it's starting to get some build up. We're starting to build Freddy's legend again. And then this guy starts killing kids and starts calling himself Freddy Krueger, even though he's obviously not Freddy Krueger. So he's kind of a copycat, you know, copycat killer type of situation. You know, we're trying to do something a little bit different here. But because the glove obviously had a connection to Freddy Krueger, Freddy will start to, you know, rebuild a little bit. Gets himself a new body of sorts. And so through that, he'll slowly start to take over the body, kind of like he did in, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street 2 a little bit. But this is different, more of almost a possession a little bit. Kind of a little bit what we did with the other one. But I would say this would be mostly like, and so like halfway through the movie, Robert Englund kind of takes over the body. And he's like, I'm reborn and all that. Freddy's reborn and I can start all again. And the dream powers are given to this new character. But he, of course, becomes Freddy Krueger again. So it gets Freddy right back in the movie. So we're not losing out on Robert Englund. We're not losing out on Freddy Krueger. It's not going to be like, well, this whole movie is this brand new character. But like I said, in order for it to build thinking, we didn't want to just be like, what if someone dog piss on it and Freddy, I use that one a lot, but yeah, dog pisses on it and Freddy's suddenly back. Suddenly Palpatine's returned. So we wanted to make it, I want to make it smart and intelligent way. Not the best way in the world. I'm not going to sit there and say I'm a genius, nothing like that. But, you know, a way that builds a new way to bring him back. And through this, you can probably start like a new trilogy, or you could just say, no, we're really killing him this time. But since they already kind of did that in the last movie, it's kind of like, oh, you already said he's dead. So it's kind of like, you know, either it has to lead to a new trilogy or it has to lead to another movie or something like that. So I would have some kind of cliffhanger probably to lead to another movie of how the hell we stop this guy. And I would say, yeah, we'll probably have, maybe he even gets his, I would say we'll have Alice die, just because we need someone to kind of like, you know, and maybe one of the other characters probably dies too. Probably either his daughter or Tracy, I'd say, would die. And then I would say whoever doesn't die of those, you know, would lead into the next movie or whatever, and saying we have to find a way to stop him, you know, because he's been killed before. We have to stop him again because this is a whole new body for him. He's reborn in a sense. Freddy reborn is what we would call it, I guess. So yeah, we have to protect these kids, so, obviously with Alice dying, that's the big thing of her dream powers could transfer to someone else. So it's a little more repeat the Dream Master, but we have to find a new Dream Master. But through that, I think we can kind of go a little bit into the next movie, kind of a tie-in. Like I said, it would be a connection with at least 2 movies, maybe 3. But I'd say if you're going to go sort of the reboot route, it's kind of go a little bit of a connection to a sequel. So what I would say is go ahead and bring back. With Alice dying, she won't really die. She'll just simply transfer into the dream world. And through that, you can also do an idea that they originally had for Freddy's Dead, which was to bring back some of the Dream Warrior characters that were killed. So Kincaid could come back, and a couple of the other ones could come back. Hell, you want to go about it? Well, go ahead and bring Kirsten back. Go ahead and bring Harry Lane come back. Make the next movie just a big freaking showdown in the dream world, and focus completely on going into the dreams and saving these characters. And you can have a whole bunch of the characters, living and dead in this dream world, starting to take over. So I would say you have Alice, you have the Dream Warriors, you get Kirsten back, you get a big ass cast. Even get Patricia Arquette back if she's available. Just go all out for that second movie. First movie's leading into it. Second movie's boom, this is where we're gonna have just a big showdown. Dream Warriors and Freddy. And then they finally are able to defeat Freddy in his own world. Doesn't end dreams, obviously, for real, but at least it ends that kind of dream world. They also are able to kill those dream demons. They figure out how to do that. That's something the Dream Warriors can kind of come about. The Dream Master, Alice kind of meets her final form of being Dream Master by actually living in the dreams. And that's kind of where she has to. She can have a nice, sweet moment with Jacob and all that, to say, I'm proud of you, son, and you can, continue on, live your life, be happy, and stuff like that. So that's kind of how I would sort of, continue on after Freddy's dead. So you get a couple of the characters come back, you get sort of a setup for a second, a 2-part movie, basically. And then, I'd keep it at 2, I think. But then you get a nice big, we're bringing these characters back, and this is how we're going to truly end it, end the dream world. And then you're done with Freddy Krueger, and that's it. That would be our 7, part 7, 1 of 2 pitch, I guess would be what we call it. So I would call it Freddy Reborn, and then Freddy's death, Freddy's final dream death, or whatever you want to call it. But it would definitely be a 2-part movie. And like I said, first part continuing on with some of the characters from the previous 2 films, and then kill a couple of those characters off, set them up in a big showdown in the dream world. And I would definitely have Nancy give the final blow. Even though Alice has been established as a great character, Nancy needs to get the final blow, just because you get that kind of nice old school, boom, you're going down for now. Good Freddy. Good riddance, Freddy. It's hard to talk today. Cold medicine and all. So anyway, cool guys. So that's my pitch for I guess part 7. Sort of a, like I said, half reboot, half continuation, I guess would be what we call it. Just because, like I said, if something's a final movie and you're trying to do it, that sort of ties into the reboot. But I would make it, like I said, 2-part movie, and then you get kind of that big showdown. So cool. I hope you guys like that idea. So that just leaves 2 pitches left, I guess, because this is after Freddy's dead. So yeah, cool. That just leaves 2 pitches left: Freddy vs. Jason sequel, and us coming up with a pitch for a sequel to the reboot. So both of those will be a decent challenge. So I will look at doing those soon. Probably not tomorrow. I have a show tomorrow, but maybe during the week. If not, I'll do it next week. We'll get those 2 pitches knocked out next week, and then we'll move into a different pitch. Obviously, there's some other ideas I have. Non-pitch ideas, movie-related things that I can do on here as well, and maybe Anna will come on as well. She's not feeling that great today either, so that's why I'm doing this thing. So cool, guys. Hope you enjoyed this, and like and subscribe, and let's keep getting those subscriptions up. We're up to 22 right now. That's excellent. Let's keep on building, and if there's other ideas you have, other pitches you want me to make, or other things you want me to do on this channel, rankings, or other type of scenario things with movies, or how I'd rework some stuff, I hope you like it. These are creative ideas. I'm just throwing it out there. I'm not saying I'm some Hollywood genius because I'm just a guy in Washington, doing my thing, killing some time. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoy these, and I'll keep doing them. So have a good night, guys.